In the spring of last year, just as I was preparing to completely quit YouTube, and as I was still coming to terms with the absolute abortion that was Darling in the FranXX, I heard of a series that would begin airing during the fall that made me pause and reflect. It made me question if maybe I'd begun to outgrow anime as a medium, and that made me very upset. If a single anime series was able to make me give up hope on the entire medium, I thought, then maybe it's time for me to move on to other forms of entertainment. That time I got reincarnated as a slime, or Tensura, is more or less exactly what it sounds like, and more than what it sounds like at the same time. I heard that title, and as I said, it made me think that in a world where series much more deserving of a second or third season go unnoticed by major studios, this was what Animation Studio 8-Bit would be producing? Wait, that name sounds familiar. What else has 8-Bit done? Oh, I remember 8-Bit! They created the poorly paced adaptation of Rewrite, which, if anyone out there remembers, was one of the most massive disappointments of its season. Oh, they also created How to Keep a Mummy? No wonder that was underwhelming. In any case, the question then becomes, is Tensura another of 8-Bit's poorly handled mistakes? No. I'll save you the time and cut to the end. I adored this series. Tensura follows Satoru Mikami, a traditional 40-year-old virgin type who's pretty much accepted his lot in life when he is stabbed to death. In the process of being reincarnated, Satoru laments not being more impulsive and passionate, and is given a variety of skills to make up for his now rather squishy new body. One of his new abilities, aptly called Predator, allows Satoru to consume his enemies, or friends in some cases, and attain their skills and abilities as a result. So, he's essentially Kirby, but instead of a Dream Eater, come on, you all know it's true, he's a slime. I also laugh at how he looks like a dongo, but I'll move on before I make more videos on Clanad. In this new world, Satoru first encounters a fearsome dragon named Veldora, and without spoiling anything specific, it's then that his name is changed from Satoru to Rimuru, and when his quest begins in earnest. Rimuru then meets a wide variety of creatures, from goblins and orcs to dryads and demons, and with each new struggle, his team grows and grows until we witness the creation and growth of his village turned city turned nation. If you've seen Gurren Lagann, there's a chance you remember how it felt to see Simone and Kamina go from living in the underground to creating a world all their own, and that's the best comparison I can make to express how it felt to see Rimuru befriend and recruit people of all races and form the nation of Tempest. So, one thing I want to clear up about this series is that despite the fact that Rimuru does seem to gain new abilities with incredible ease, he's got a level of depth that others in the Isekai genre just don't. In other series, the prevailing question might be, will the protagonist succeed and overcome the obstacles before them? But in Tensura, that question is changed to, how will the protagonist use their abilities to overcome said obstacles, and in what ways? I'll provide an example. In one arc, Rimuru acknowledges the strength of their opponent, understands there is no way they'll be able to defeat her, and as such, they don't. No. Instead, they lure the enemy to their side by offering her a taste of the honey produced in Tempest. As a result, the enemy then becomes Rimuru's self-proclaimed best friend, which ends up being both a blessing and a curse. It's things like this that separate them from other overpowered protagonists. Rather than relying on brawn to beat their opponents, they'll use their brain to do the same job more efficiently. I'll admit, however, that they do have one thing in common with many other protagonists, and that is that they'll often rely on one signature move to finish off their enemies, which is the aforementioned Predator skill. But even Goku relies on the Kamehameha and Spirit Bomb to finish off his foes, so I don't think I would necessarily call this a problem. Tensura is, at its core, a series about second chances. Satoru is given a second chance to live the life he's always wanted, and as a result, everyone he meets is given a second chance to achieve a variety of goals. From surviving in a cruel, unforgiving world, to getting revenge on the ones who killed their people, and everything in between. I'd be hard-pressed to find another isekai anime where the core message underneath it all is as wholesome as that. I think, however, if I were to point out one thing I wasn't entirely happy about, it'd be the way that openings kind of mislead the audience, whether intentionally or by accident. In a lot of traditional OPs, they'll hint at characters introduced or highlighted in the episodes that follow, but in the first opening for Tensura, they feature characters that don't show up rather prominently. They even have an extensive sequence showing Rimuru fighting the leader of some group, but none of them have any significant screen time in the 20-some-odd episodes of the first season. I'm aware said leader makes a brief appearance at the end of the season, but again, she's not introduced and they have no fight in the first half, so it's strange they dedicate 11 seconds of the opening to a fight that never happens. I also want to point out that the second OP, as well as the key visual for the second half for that matter, features this character, Ramirez, as some kind of final antagonist they'll have to overcome in order to cap the season, when she's not only their friend, but also kind of a small fry when compared to foes such as Charybdis or the Orc Lord. In this case, however, I'm willing to accept that it might have been intentional. So, I know that's not really a criticism of the show itself, but you've got to understand that it wasn't a complete mess like I naturally assumed it would be, which is saying a lot. I will say, while we're on the topic, it feels like they stuffed more material into the episodes budgeted for the season than would be recommended by a medical professional. I'll admit, in the 24 episodes we're given, there are about 7 story arcs covered, and while some of them hype the big bad as a serious threat, the heroes seem to handle them no sweat, which plays into the argument that Rimuru is simply too powerful. It has been confirmed that a second season will be airing next year, so if I could hope for anything in the new material, it'd be for an enemy to actually challenge Rimuru. I would love to see an incredibly powerful foe that isn't just dealt with when Rimuru suddenly decides to open their mouth. That time I got reincarnated as a slime, or Tensura, has taken my expectations, coated them in a fine oil, and deep-fried them into a dish that even Gordon Ramsay would enjoy. Look, we live in a world where we have titles like, "They say you can't get reincarnated in a fantasy world if you get hit by a truck, so I decided to work with a pretty girl. Look it up." And it's difficult to know if any of them are worth picking up, or if they're simply fuel for the campfire. So the fact that Tensura not only turned out to be good, but also ended up being the 3rd best isekai series ever, tells you all you need to know. I am highly excited to see this world expanded in the sequel, even if I somehow manage to spoil myself to how all this ends. I only have myself to blame for that, but for now, if you'll excuse me, I have some anonymous internet commenters to hunt down. If you've made it to this point in the video, I want to thank you so much and invite you to click that subscribe button if you'd like to see more from this channel, and be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified every time I post new content, as if the subscribe button wasn't enough, YouTube! If you'd like to join my Discord server, you'll find a link to do so in the description below, as well as a link to my Patreon if you'd like to support the channel financially. If not, then I look forward to seeing you around the internet. I'm Pixelation, as always, reminding you to stay pixelated.